Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do an update on some of the 2028 presidential candidates, both Democratic and Republican. We're going to start with Gavin Newsom and the Democrats. So Gavin Newsom is currently the governor of California, and he's been actively raising his national profile to have a good shot at becoming president in 2028. And so he has a good shot to win the primary. He's pretty popular among the Democratic base, and he's very charismatic. But in the general election, I don't think he would do as well because a lot of opposition would paint him as this California liberal, which is not the most popular image in the nation as a whole. And that would cause him to be weaker in a lot of the swing states. So overall, 5 out of 10, which is pretty decent. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the most progressive people in the party, and she seems to be Bernie Sanders' choice to become the nominee. And she's got this young energy, which I think could really capture the Democratic Party in the primary. And that would give her a really great shot to win the primary because the Democratic Party is ready for this new young leadership. But in the general election, I think she'd be far too left for the nation as a whole to elect, and it would just be filled with attack ads and negativity from the opposition, just telling everybody about her far left positions that might not be popular in the nation as a whole. So she's got a decent shot. She's one of the front runners, I would say. And then Pete Buttigieg, he currently lives in Michigan, and he's a big Midwestern guy, so that would be great because there's a lot of stake in the Midwestern states. And he's popular among the Democrats, giving him a great chance to win the primary, and he's just really good at communication. He goes on Fox News a lot, and he has this wide range of support, but gets less support from more minority voters. And since he's from the Midwest, I think he would do good in the Rust Belt, and that if he wins Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, that's the presidency, which I think he has a good shot at doing. So he's got pretty high chances to become the next president of the United States. Now, Josh Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania, which is the swing state with the most electoral votes at stake, which would obviously be good in the general election. But I don't know if he would do great in the primary because he's pretty moderate, but people may like him because he's a very successful, popular governor in a swing state, and I think that gives him a great shot in the general because he would definitely win Pennsylvania as it's his home state, and I think he could carry a lot of the Rust Belt. And then Kamala Harris, I don't know if she would do well. I don't know if Democrats want to go with the same thing as 2024, but she has the name recognition and the, I guess, popularity from being the vice president and running in 2024. But I think she struggles in broad support, and the nation as a whole, they already rejected her once. I don't think they will want to elect her in a second chance. And it's just, I think it's going to be difficult for her because she already lost. And then Gretchen Whitmer, she's the governor of Michigan, very popular governor. Michigan is a swing state, and she won in Michigan in 2022 by more than 10 points, which really shows her popularity. And she's pragmatic, she polls well, and I think she would do okay in the primary, but I think she would get beaten by some other big name people like Gavin Newsom, AOC, or Pete Buttigieg. But if she makes it to the general, I think she's got a great shot because, again, she's from the Midwest, which would help so much with those Rust Belt states, especially Michigan. But I don't know how likely it is for her to win the primary. Now we have J.B. Pritzker. I do not think he would do well in the primary because Democrats right now are trying to paint themselves as a working class party, and Pritzker is a billionaire, which would not fare well with the working class. And he's a governor of a very blue state. He's not well known nationally, so I don't know how well he's going to do in the primary. I wouldn't expect he does very well. And again, I don't think he would win the general election. He's just not known well. He's a billionaire, and the majority of the American people want someone to represent them. And now Tim Walz, he ran as VP to Kamala Harris in 2024. He was well liked, but after the failure in 2024, I don't know if he'll have any things that make him stand out in the primary. I think he'll get squashed by some more known candidates, and he hasn't really shown intent to run that much, and I don't think he would do great in the general because it's hard to do great when you failed 4 years prior. And now we're going to move on to the Republicans, and we're going to start with J.D. Vance, who is the clear front runner in the primary. He was picked by President Trump to be his vice president, and I think Trump will endorse him. Trump's endorsement will mean a lot because the Republican Party has just grown to be the Trump Party. And he's popular with the base, and he's got the name recognition. But in the general, I don't think he'd fare very well because he's quite unpopular nationally, and his performances in Ohio, the Senate race, he has not done very well. He's underperformed most Republicans, so I don't think he'll do the greatest in the general election. And now we have Marco Rubio, who is the current Secretary of State, and I think it's going to be hard to beat J.D. Vance, but if there's anyone to do it, it's going to be him because he's well known and he's part of the Trump administration. He's got good experience and he attracts a lot of the conservative base. And in the general, I think he would fare better than J.D. Vance, but still not the greatest. And now Tulsi Gabbard. She used to be a Democrat and then became a Republican, which I do not think the Republican people are going to like very much, which is why I don't think she's got a chance in the primary at all. And I think it's just a long shot. And then in the general, she's a Republican, but she was a Democrat. I don't know how either Republicans or Democrats are going to like that at all because she's just wishy-washy with her positions. And now Ron DeSantis, he challenged Trump for the nomination in 2024, but failed. And I think there's a strong conservative base that could get behind him, but not much broad appeal. And I don't know. I think he could win the primary, but in the general, I don't think he's very popular with independents and any Democrats, and I think he would struggle with getting a lot of votes from non-Republicans. And Glenn Youngkin, he's a popular governor in Virginia, which is a likely blue state, and he was able to win the governor's race in 2022, which shows he can appeal to Republicans and Democrats. And I think in the primary, he's not as conservative as some other people, so he might not fare too well in the primary, but if he makes it to the general, I think he's got a good shot because he's got this conservative and moderate suburban base, and he's strong in swing states and very pragmatic. So I think if he wins the nomination, he's got a pretty good shot to become president of the United States. Now, Nikki Haley, she challenged Trump in 2024, and she was kind of the main opposition to him in the Republican side, but it did not go well for her. Trump beat her by a lot, and she failed once. I don't think anything would change to make her succeed later. And she's really a moderate, so I don't think she would fare well with the conservative base. but she would have a decent shot in the general election because she's more of a moderate and could attract the middle of the road voters. And now Vivek Ramaswamy. Trump really likes Vivek, and I think Trump may endorse him because Trump isn't the fondest of J.D. Vance, it seems. So I think Vivek would do pretty good among the conservatives and Republicans, but if he gets to the general, I don't think he'll get broad support because he's very conservative, and he's kind of got the same populist message as Trump, and he lacks experience, which I do not think would go well for him in the general election. And Greg Abbott, he's the governor of Texas, and he's a pretty conservative governor, which I think would fare well in the Republican primary, but I don't know if he has a great national appeal because it's mainly just Texas for him, and that means in the general he wouldn't do the greatest because he has some pretty strong conservative views on immigration and abortion, and he wouldn't do all the best, I think. And now that's 16 candidates total, 8 from each party, and I think there's 5 main frontrunners that could win their nomination or become president: Gavin Newsom, AOC, Pete Buttigieg, and J.D. Vance, and Marco Rubio. And in my opinion, I think most likely it's going to be Gavin Newsom against J.D. Vance. And I think Gavin Newsom would win because J.D. Vance is pretty unpopular and he underperforms Republicans nationally. So I think Gavin Newsom will be our next president as of right now, as of today. But that may change. There may be some support among another Democratic candidate, or the Republicans could all support someone other than J.D. Vance, like Marco Rubio. And so I think this is a good picture of where we're at today. We're still more than 3 years away from the election. And yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to comment. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will definitely respond to them because I would love to have an engaging conversation with any of the viewers.